Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Here in Australia, we have an election on Saturday. It is Anthony Albanese versus Peter Dutton. I don't like either candidate, and I think Australia is doomed either way if either one gets in. They're both pretty much the same, if you ask me. And if you're looking at the policies, they're not very good at all. I didn't vote for either of them. I voted for more independent voices, the ones that I think actually have a little bit more common sense. And last night, the final debate. I don't know why we had so many debates. It's not like Australians don't know who they're going to vote for, but this late in the piece, like the final week until election day, they're doing one final debate. And obviously, 7 News, their audience was stacked, and basically Anthony Albanese apparently won the debate. Honestly, the whole thing was an actual basket case, and it's obviously one of the main questions that was asked last night during the debate was to do with this whole welcome to country nonsense. It sparked a massive debate because of ANZAC Day. ANZAC Day services were held all across Australia. We had record-breaking numbers, which was fantastic to see, but there's still controversy surrounding ANZAC Day because, well, in certain woke states, Melbourne in particular, they had to have a welcome to country ceremony, and they paid some guy, some person called Uncle whatever, anywhere upwards of $5,000 to appear, keep his hat on, and spout a bunch of nonsense about Bungarang country and how it's his father's land and his land and no other Australian's land. And I think it was utterly disrespectful to actually have a welcome to country at an Anzac Day service. Primarily because why in the world are you welcoming veterans, Anzacs, the ones that we remember for their sacrifice and the ones that actually paid the ultimate price for going and protecting your damn freedom? You wouldn't have Bungarang country if it wasn't for the Anzacs, mate. You wouldn't have Bungarang country if it wasn't for the servicemen and women that went and fought. You wouldn't have freedom at all. You'd be speaking Japanese more than likely, or you wouldn't even be here. Who knows? Like, those men and women paid the ultimate sacrifice, and you're going to welcome them and say that it's not actually their country, not actually their land either, that they bled and died for? You're going to, okay, make it all about yourself, you proud, arrogant son of a, you know what? Son of a dingbat. There we go. It's better terminology. I'll be using that from now on. How about that? Son of a dingbat. Why in the world was this even allowed? And obviously, people in the audience, veterans, were booing what was taking place. Now, lots of people are saying, oh, you shouldn't be booing at all at an Anzac Day service, but people are fed up. I get it. I understand why they were booing. People weren't happy with what this man was saying. It's Australia. It's every single one of our land. No one owns Australia at all. But the Aboriginals are like, oh, we're First Nations people. We belong here more than the white man. And you know what that's doing? It's creating division. It's dividing Australians. You know the reason why we have an Indigenous flag and a Torres Strait Islander flag? Where's the Australian flag when Anthony Albanese is standing and addressing people? Nowhere, because he won't stand in front of an Australian flag, apparently. He'll stand in front of the Aboriginal flag and the Torres Strait Islander flag, but not the Australian flag. That sows division, my friends. Now, this controversy, because people were booing at the Anzac Day service, they were not booing Anzacs, they were booing the stupid welcome to country. I made several videos about that already and how utterly gross the whole thing was to have a welcome to country. We don't need it. We just don't need it at all. It is overdone, overused, and there's no need for it. There is no need for it at all, especially at an Anzac Day service. And I want it all done. The Melbourne Storm cancelled their welcome to country ceremonies on the Anzac Day games because they were too afraid of backlash and too afraid of booing. But the thing is, you had over 100,000 people respectfully in silence during the ode and during the last post. 100,000 people in attendance, all silent. Now, can you imagine? They were being very respectful, but can you imagine if a welcome to country was there? Can you imagine 100,000 people remaining silent during that? Maybe not, because it's not about the Indigenous Australians? Sure, some of them went. What about the Indigenous Australians that actually fought for Australia? That's why they went. They didn't fight for Bungarang country. They fought for Australia. We're all Australians. But they've forgotten that. And the amount of people that I've been seeing online, obviously, has been crazy. It's just been like, don't tell me you can't welcome us to our own country. You're saying we can't welcome it. Just son of a dingbats, like son of a dingbat or son of a dingbats. I don't really care. But in last night's debate, this question was asked, and the response, seriously, Albanese does what he does best. He's a politician, can't answer a damn question, and Dutton is spineless. Both of them agreed that, yeah, the booing shouldn't be done, especially in ANZAC Day service or anywhere for that fact. Like, apparently welcome to countries are supposed to be sacred. But Dutton, on the other hand, he was like, they're overdone. We do them too much. We do them for literally everything. We should stop doing them as much. Open Parliament, maybe. Anyway, have a watch at their responses.
Now, before we pose our fourth question, we want to talk to you about something that's happened just recently that I think you both can agree is a stain on our country. ANZAC Day, people booing the welcome to country. It has started, I mean, that's an abhorrent thing to happen, but it started a broader discussion. There are people in Australia who are uncomfortable with being welcomed to country. Veterans who've said that they fought for this country, their blood is in the soil, why do they need to be welcomed to country? Mr Dutton, as Prime Minister, we know you won't stand in front of the Indigenous flag. Will you have welcome to country ceremonies? Will you have smoking ceremonies? Will you acknowledge the traditional owners at your official events?
Well, Mark, the point I've made in relation to the flag is that I don't believe that we can be the best country we can be if we're asking people to identify under different flags. No other country comparable to ours does that. I want to unite our country. I want every Australian to be equal. If you've got 65,000 years of heritage in this country, or you came here 6 days ago, as an Australian citizen, we are all equal. And that's the point that I make. You can have respect, as I do, for the Indigenous flag and the Torres Strait Islander flag, but I want our country to be one, and I think that's the best chance of reconciliation.
That is the flag.
In relation to the welcome to country, first point I'd make in relation to ANZAC Day is that that is our most sacred day of the year, and it is a time to respect diggers, and it's not a time for booing any part of that ceremony.
We all agree on that.
In relation to the welcome to country otherwise, I think there is, and people have said this to me as we've moved across the country, there is a sense across the community that it's overdone. For the opening of Parliament, fair enough, it's respectful to do, but for the start of every meeting at work or the start of a football game, I think a lot of Australians think it's overdone, and it cheapens the significance of what it was meant to do. It divides the country, not dissimilar to what the Prime Minister did with the Voice.
I've got to go to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, you heard that. It cheapens the traditional owners' respect that has been shown by people who allow a welcome to country in events. What's your view?
Well, the first thing that I'd say about the ANZAC Day commemorations and the way in which they were disrupted is that Peter and I agree, and I think most Australians will agree, that that was abhorrent and really an act of cowardice on a day in which we celebrate the bravery of those men and women who've worn our uniforms.
Mr Dutton has just said that the welcome to country is overused and is cheapened by its overuse. You always have, at your official events, I've been to a lot of them, smoking ceremonies, welcome to country, acknowledgement of traditional owners.
Well, from my perspective, it's a matter of respect, but it's also, of course, up to the organisations that are hosting an event of whether they have a welcome to country or not. It's up to them, and people will have different views, and people are entitled to their views. But we have a great privilege, from my perspective, of sharing this continent with the oldest continuous culture on earth. And when I welcome international visitors to Parliament House, you know what? They want to see that culture. The New Zealand national anthem, as you know, is on ANZAC Day, set in Maori language as well as in English, in recognition of the fullness and richness of the history of New Zealand.
But Prime Minister, do you think it's overdone, the welcome to country?
It's up to people to determine whether they have a welcome to country or not. But from my perspective, for major events, it is, of course, a sign of respect.
So you're going to continue to do it, and you're going to do it as selected events, only major events. Is that right?
I think at the opening of Parliament it's appropriate, and I think at other very significant events of that nature, yes. But I do think that the most important thing we can do is provide practical reconciliation.
Okay.
I think the nation was aghast when the Prime Minister spent $450 million and sought to divide us over the Voice debate on heritage and on cultural grounds. I think Australians in their hearts want to see a better outcome for Indigenous Australians in terms of health outcomes and education outcomes, but that hasn't happened under this government's watch. We've had 3 years where we've seen devastating circumstances in Alice Springs, in Darwin, only in the last few days, where a man again has lost his life. And we want to see the practical reconciliation and improvements for lives of Indigenous Australians. But the Prime Minister himself can't bring himself to...
Firstly, Australian debates are boring. And the moderator doing this debate kept interrupting Dutton. I know he's trying to keep Dutton on point. Same with Albanese. But the whole thing, it's firstly boring and pointless. I think pretty much every Australian knows who they want to run the country at the moment. Lots of Australians are beginning to wake up and realise that Labor and the Liberals are no different from each other, especially today. It's not like John Howard's era. John Howard and John Anderson, two of my favourite individuals in politics, believe it or not. I respect both men enormously because they both ran Australia unified, first and foremost. And secondly, they didn't run Australia into the ground. We had a surplus financially. It was the best times that Australia has ever seen under the leadership of men with conviction. Now we've got dingbats like Dutton and Albanese. They've got no idea how to run a country. They merely just got into politics for the level of corruption they can get more houses. I know Dutton's got a $30-something million property portfolio. I don't care about that. What I care about is Albanese walking away from politics with now 7 properties that are worth a couple of million each. How did he go into politics having one house, becomes Prime Minister, walks away now with 7 or something houses? Multi-million-dollar houses. Someone needs to answer that for me. How did he do that? And also, how he's worked with the economy. The economy is in the toilet at the moment. If you go to the supermarket, chocolate, a block of Cadbury chocolate is now $8. That is ridiculous. A packet of Cheetos, man, it's almost $4 in some parts. Cheetos, there's nothing in the stuff. I don't eat any of it. But I'm looking at these prices and I'm going, you've got to be kidding me. Why is the cost of living so damn high? Why is the housing market like through the roof at the moment? It's because this dingbat, Albanese, is allowing so many immigrants in the country, flooding the market. So you've got limited stock now. The renting prices are through the roof. Again, limited stock. Albanese doesn't actually prioritise Australians, and I don't believe Dutton does either. I think they're all in it for themselves. They're not really in it for actual Australians, and Dutton saying that he won't stand in front of the Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander flag and he wants a unified Australia, fantastic. Actually make it happen. All Albanese's done is divide the country even more with the voice referendum. And this notion of welcome to country, 7 in 10 Australians want welcome to country ceremonies stopped completely. We don't need it. All it does is virtue signal the complete and utter woke dingbattery that we've got going on in our country. We don't need it. We understand, okay, Indigenous Australians, fantastic. We can respect you, but we don't need to pay you like 10, 20 grand sometimes to do a welcome to country ceremony every single like business event, footy game, whatever. Enough's enough, man. They're actually degrading and cheapening what it's supposed to be, what its original intention was, believe it or not. And Dutton and Albanese, both of them have got no idea. They're just, I don't know if you guys have noticed it when you've watched any of the debates. I can't stand any of the debates, but both of their policies, they're not great. They're really not great. And both of them could lead Australia down a bad direction. Still, they're a little bit better. Like, they're better than the Greens, man. If we had the Greens in, God help us all, honestly. But anyway, I personally think we don't need welcome to country. That's not racist to say at all. It just divides Australia even more. We are all Australians. First Nation or not, we're still Australian. That's my thoughts on the matter. But you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.